Hello everyone, welcome to the pre-recorded presentation that is provided by My Team Wisdom Educational Training Institute, Bangalore. This presentation is beneficial for all IT and CS students, IT professionals and those who are working in networking domain. If you have any questions, doubts and suggestions, please write to us in the comment box and we will revert you. Let's begin with the presentation. Open shortest path first, OSPF. In this presentation, we are going to cover OSPF packet details, OSPF LSA details, OSPF area, OSPF media types, and OSPF adjacencies. Move to the next slide. Before starting the presentation for OSPF, I would like to introduce about OSPF. I would like to give you a small introduction of OSPF. It is related to the history of OSPF and what it is about. I would like to inform you. So OSPF is a link state interior gateway routing protocol designed for a large complex network. As per the report given by IETF standard, OSPF is widely deployed in large networks. OSPF version 2 was established in 1991 with RFC 1247. OSPF runs on top of IP and uses protocol number 89, just as TCP runs on top of IP and uses protocol number 6. OSPF doesn't use any transport protocol such as TCP for reliability. The protocol itself has a reliable mechanism of transportation. As we already discussed about that, this is an open standard routing protocol widely used in big enterprises or even used by Internet Service Provider ISP. It has been implemented by a wide variety of network vendors including Cisco. If we have multiple routers in our organization, then we have only few options because we cannot use EIGRP. So our remaining options are RIP version 2 and OSPF. And if it is a large network, then definitely we have only one option, that is OSPF. OSPF works by using Dijkstra algorithm. First, a shortest path tree constructed in that, and then routing table is populated with the resulting best path. It also supports IP version 4 and IP version 6 routed protocol. OSPF provides following features. It consists of areas and autonomous systems. Autonomous systems belongs to an organization. Every big organization has its own autonomous system number. Minimize routing updates traffic. Allows scalability. It supports VLSM, CIDR, classless interdomain routing, and it has unlimited hop count. Apart from that, it allows multi-network, multi-vendor deployment because it is an open standard. If we compare OSPF with RIP routing protocol, because both are internal routing protocol, so if we compare, we can see few characteristics. For example, type of protocol. OSPF is a link state type of protocol. RIP version 2 and RIP version 1 are distance vector routing protocol. It is classless routing protocol, and RIP version 2 also supports classless, means CIDR. RIP version 1 doesn't support classless. After that, VLSM, as we already know that it supports VLSM also. Auto summarization feature is not available in OSPF, but yes, we have auto summarization support in all the versions of RIP. Manual summarization, we have the features in this, and RIP version 2 and RIP version 1 don't have manual summarization feature. Discontiguous support, yes, we do have support in OSPF, but RIP both versions do not support discontiguous networks. I'm sorry, here RIP version 2 supports discontiguous networks. Route propagation, it uses multicast only on the change in the routing, but RIP version 1 and RIP version 2, both of them do periodic, both of them provides periodic updates. The difference between this is one is multicast, RIP version 2 is multicast, and RIP version 1 is broadcast. Path metric, it uses bandwidth, and RIP version 2 and RIP version 1 uses hops. Path metric means to calculate a best path, it uses a metric, that is bandwidth, and for RIP this is hops. Hop count limitation, we do not have any hop count limitation in OSPF, but in RIP routing protocol we have 15 hop count of limitation. Convergence is faster as compared to RIP routing protocol. Peer authentication is also available in OSPF, and what kind of authentication it supports? It supports two different types of authentication. One is plain text and second one is MD5, that stands for message digest algorithm. Okay, and the next one is hierarchical network. Yes, OSPF supports and requires hierarchical network, but RIP, both of the version of RIP do not support hierarchical network. They are flat in nature. After that, route computation. For route computation, OSPF uses Dijkstra algorithm, but RIP version 2 and 1, both of them support and uses Bellman-Ford algorithm. If we talk about OSPF, then how to design a network that is suitable and that requires by OSPF routing protocol. As we already know that OSPF is supposed to be designed in a hierarchical fashion, which basically means that you can separate the large internet work into smaller internet works called areas. This is a best design for OSPF. After that, I will tell you the following are reasons for creating OSPF in a hierarchical design. I will show you the hierarchical design. This is our hierarchical design. Here the network is divided into different areas. Here we have area 0, area 1 and area 2. Now back to the previous slide. Why do we require these areas? To reduce or to decrease routing overhead, to speed up convergence, to confine network instability to single areas of the network, and the last one is easy to troubleshoot and understand the big enterprise network. All areas need to connect to area 0. Areas that can not connect to area 0 physically need a logical connection. It is using something known as logical links. I will tell you what is logical links. Suppose we have router 1, this is router 2, this is router 2, and this is router 3, and let's say this is router 4. Okay, and this part belongs to area 0, and this part this is your area 1, according to our definition all areas need to connect to area 0. Okay, now see here, all areas need to connect to area 0. Areas that cannot connect to area 0 physically, for example this is area 1 and this is area 0, and the one interface, this interface of R4 and this interface of R3 is connected to area 0. One interface of area 1 or any area should connect to area 0. Now let's take one area here. This is your area 2 and there are two routers which is connected to R4 and R3 is connected to this router, and this is R5 and this is R4. Okay, and this is area 2. Now how the logical links will work? This is area 2 and this area is not directly connected to our area 0. So what will happen? We will use a logical links like this. So this link from here to here and from R2 to R5 we should have this is your logical link. Got my point? Logical links will use when we do not have direct connectivity to the backbone area or area 0 of the area. Here we have area 2 is not directly connected, so we are using a logical link. After that, routers that connects other areas to the backbone area within the AS autonomous system are called area border router. So this router R4 this is area 0, this is R1, this is R2, this is R3 and this is R4. Okay, and this is in different area. Let's take area 1. According to our next point, what is ABR, area border router? Routers that connect other areas to the backbone area within the AS are called area border router. So R3 and R4 are the area border routers. These two are area border routers. At least one interface of the area border router must be in area 0. So this interface belongs to area 0 and this router belongs to different area also, and these two routers are ABR. Okay, if you check the above diagram, let's see the diagram. Let's see this diagram only. If you check the diagram, router C, here this router C and router D are ABR because they connect to area 0 as well as another area. Okay, they are connected to area 0 also, and they are connected to area 1, here area 2 and area 0. So that is why they are ABR. Okay, the way ABR connects different areas, routers that connect different autonomous systems are called autonomous system boundary routers, ASBR. Here your router E and router F, these are ASBR. These two are ASBR. Because if we have different autonomous system here, different organization here, let's take AS is 500 and this AS is 200, then this router belongs to this organization if it is connected to here. So RF, this is RF, this is router F, so this router belongs to ASBR, so this is ASBR. Okay, in the similar way, this is ASBR if it is connecting to different organization or different AS. See, if router E or F connects to the another OSPF AS or to a AS of another protocol such as EIGRP or RIP, it can be anything, it would be called as ASBR. So these two are ASBR here. Okay. Here what we need to remember is OSPF runs inside an autonomous system and an enterprise or organization, but it can also connect multiple autonomous systems together. So the router that connects these AS is called an autonomous system, ASBR. Always remember this. These two routers, last two routers are ASBR. Okay. Now we will learn OSPF terminology. These terminologies are very important to understand OSPF process and OSPF routing protocol. Every routing protocol has its own language and terminology. So in this way, in the OSPF, we have few terminologies. We have divided these terminologies in different levels. One is router level, area level, and internetwork level. First, we will go through the router level. On the router level, if I talk about first terminology is router ID. What is router ID? Router ID is nothing but the identification of a particular router in that particular area. That is called router ID. And how a router will get his own router ID, who will decide, and how it will decide that what the router ID will become the identity of that particular router. So for that we have some rules. The router ID is an IP address used to identify the router ID is an IP address used to identify the router throughout the OSPF within AS. Since a router may have multiple addresses, okay, it may have multiple interfaces, and all interfaces, for example, we have three interfaces, and all the three interfaces are active and participating in the OSPF routing. So for its multiple active interfaces that are participating the OSPF configuration, Cisco routers chooses the highest IP addresses, Okay, if we do not have loopback address on that particular router, then it will choose a highest physical address. Otherwise, if we have loopback interface configured on that router, so it will automatically choose the loopback address, the highest loopback address interface of IP address. Do not worry if you don't understand about loopback address, later we will cover in this slide. Now if loopback interface are not present, as I already told you, after that what will happen? The highest physical IP address configured within the active interface will become the router ID. Okay, links. The next terminology is link. Simply speaking, a link is a network or router interface assigned to any given network. When an interface is added to the OSPF process, it's considered by OSPF to be a link. Link is nothing but a network or router interface assigned to any network, that is called link. Now on this slide you can see that we have a diagram. In this diagram I have already mentioned the router ID on router A and router B. Which one is correct? You have to tell me, on this or on this. Which diagram shows the correct router ID? You have to tell me, and please comment in the comment box and provide your answers. Move to the next slide. So here is the explanation of this diagram. For router A, the router ID will be this one, and for router B, see, for router A, the router ID will be this one. For router B here, the router ID will be this one. And this one is wrong, right? Below the diagram, it shows below, it's wrong. The correct one is this one. Now, once the router is aware about two things. One is its router ID and the second one is links. Once it understand his router ID and it understand about his links, active links, after that what will happen? It will try to find out more about its network by seeing out other OSPF speaking routers. Okay, I will give you one example here. If we have two routers, this is R1 and this is R2, this is 10.1, this is 10.2. Here the router understand the router ID, RID, first thing, and the second thing is links, which links are going to participate in OSPF. First, after understanding these 2 points, what will happen? It will try to find out more about its network by seeing its neighbors speaking routers. Okay, it will find out the neighbors. To find out a neighbor, it will use hello packets or protocol, hello protocol. It is a protocol that is helpful to find out or discover neighbors. It will dynamically discover its neighbors. So OSPF uses hello packets to discover neighbors and maintain relationship. Hello packets provides dynamic neighbor discovery and contains information such as area numbers that should match for a neighbor relationship to be established. Okay. Hello Packets uses a multicast address 224.0.0.5. For example, if I have multiple routers in area 0, there are multiple routers and all are connected with each others. So initially they will find out the neighbor, they will discover the neighbors with the help of 224, with the help of the multicast address 224.0.0.5. They will send hello packets, and in the hello packets they send few information. Those information should be similar with the neighbor. If those informations are similar with each other, then they will become a neighbor. Move to the next slide. Okay. So here we have three parts. One is neighbors, neighbor table or database, and area. As we already understand about area, we will learn about neighbors. What is the meaning of neighbor in OSPF routing protocols? Neighbors is the term used to define, or OSPF is speaking, more routers connected the same network. One second. Routers, those are connected in the same network and configured to be in the same OSPF area. Routers uses hello packets to discover neighbors. Means within the area, if they find out, if a router is looking for the neighbors, dynamically they will find out with the help of hello packets. Okay. Neighbor table. OSPF will maintain a list of all neighbors. One second. Yeah. So let's talk about neighborship table or database. OSPF will maintain a list of all neighbors from which hello packets have been received. A variety of details including the RID and state are maintained on each router in the neighborship database. What does it mean? It means that it maintains a database. In that particular database, it saves the information about RID and states. Okay. Adjacency. The next point is adjacency. An adjacency is a relationship between two OSPF routers that permit the direct exchange of route updates. Always remember one thing: exchange of route updates will not happen when two routers become a neighbor. It only happens when two routers become adjacent to each other. OSPF is really picky about sharing the routing information, unlike EIGRP, which directly shares routes with all of its neighbors. But in the case of OSPF directly shares routes only with the neighbors that have also established adjacencies. And not all neighbors will become adjacent. It depends upon the type of network and the configuration of the router. Okay. Topological database. If I talk about the topological database, it is a database that maintain a map, that maintain a complete topology of a network. It is similar to Google Map. If you have a map, so you can easily find out from source to destination what will be the best path or the shortest path. Without topological database, it cannot find the shortest path. So in the similar way, OSPF routing protocol maintain a database to find out the shortest path. That database is called topological database. It maintains all the link state advertisement packets that have received from an area. Okay, the router uses the information from the topology database as input in the Dijkstra algorithm that computes the shortest path to every network. Okay, with the help of this topology database as a input, it takes as a input and use Dijkstra algorithm. After running that, it find out the shortest path to every network. LSA packets are used to update and maintain the topological database. What is LSA? We will learn about LSA in our next slides. Come to the next slide here. Okay. Link state advertisement. What is LSA? It is also a very important term in OSPF. A LSA is an OSPF data packet containing link state and routing information that is shared among OSPF routers. Okay, clear? Again, I am telling you that LSA is a OSPF data packet containing link state as well as routing information that is shared among OSPF routers or with neighbors. There are different types of LSA packets. We will discuss them later. An OSPF router will exchange LSA packets only with the routers to which it has established the adjacencies. Always remember that. Note, they are networks that have multiple recipients. Try not to confuse multi-access with multi-point, which can be easy to do sometimes. Here, the most important thing is do not confuse yourself the multi-access networks with multi-point networks. Multi-point networks are different, but multi-access networks are different. Okay? Designated router. A designated router DR is elected whenever OSPF routers are connected to the same multi-access networks. Example, broadcast network. Broadcast networks, for example, if you have 4 routers connected with a switch, so it creates a broadcast network, multi-access broadcast network. That is called broadcast multi-access network. Okay. Now we will learn about the next terminology. Backup designated router. A backup designated router is a hot standby for the DR on multi-access links or networks. It is very important to have a backup for DR. So for that reason we have backup designated router. It comes into the picture when DR becomes dead or it is not reachable after the dead interval time. Then backup designated router will takes place as a DR and works according to the requirement or configuration. The BDR receives all routing updates from OSPF adjacent routers but doesn't flood LSA packets. OSPF network types. Now we will learn about OSPF network types. After understanding the neighbor, what kind of neighbor he has, after that it will find out what kind of network it is. Okay, So they will find out the network type also. How they will find out? OSPF classifies networks into the following types. There are few types of networks. We will see one by one. First is broadcast multi-access. As I already given one example, 3 routers or 4 routers are connected with a centralized switch, and all the information is going through the switch on the Ethernet link. It is known as broadcast multi-access network. If you see the diagram, this network has a capability of broadcast such as Ethernet switch network as illustrated in the diagram. Let's learn more about the broadcast network, multi-access network. Any two devices or more devices, here routers, can communicate with each other at layer 2. The DR, designated router, and BDR need to be elected on BMA network. BMA stands for broadcast multi-access. The BMA send hello packets, LSU packets, link state acknowledgement packets in multicast mode, and send database descriptive packets, DD packets also. LSR packets, LSR stands for link state request packets in unicast mode. Okay, all OSPF routers listen to the multicast address. This is very important to understand. All OSPF routers listen to the multicast address 224.0.0.5 when the multicast address is to be sent to all routers. The destination address is 224.0.0.5. The DR, when DR and BDR listen to the multicast address 224.0.0.6, when the DR and BDR are to be sent to the DR and BDR, the destination address is 224.0.0.6. There are two different IP addresses, multicast addresses. One is .5 and one is .6. When all the routers are sending information, they are using multicast address .5. When DR and BDR using the address, they are using .6. DR and BDR listen to the multicast address of .6. Okay. Here the sending refers to the OSPF packets. We are talking about OSPF packets only. By default, the interval for the BMA to send hello packets is 10 seconds. In every 10 seconds, it sends one hello packet. Okay. Now the next OSPF network type is non-broadcast multi-access. Move to the next slide. Here, networks that allow multi-access but do not have the broadcast ability are called non-broadcast multi-access. You can see the diagram. In the diagram, 3 routers are connected via frame relay. They are not directly connected with each other, but with the help of frame relay they are connected. They are non-broadcast multi-access and they do not have broadcast capability. The best example for this is frame relay, ATM X.25 are example of NBMA networks. Here the most important thing is the hello interval time for NBMA networks is 30 seconds. Point-to-point networks. In the point-to-point networks, 2 routers are directly connected with each other. 2 devices can be connected, for example, a PPP link. Okay, when 2 devices are connected through PPP links, the interface encapsulation protocol used on the device is PPP. When OSPF is activated, the OSPF sets the network type to P2P based on the data link layer and encapsulation of the interface. Okay, the default network type is P2P. Here the default network type you will see is P2P. It uses a multicast address 224.0.0.5 by default. An interface sends hello packet in every 10 seconds. Now, you can see the diagram here. The example of point-to-point link. Two routers are directly connected with each other. We have one loopback address and one interface with serial 0 1.1.2 on the serial 0 interface. On the other side we have 1.1.1 and we have one more loopback address here. So this example is for point to point. Okay. The next network type, OSPF network type, is point to multipoint. Point to multipoint. Point to multipoint refers to a type of network topology consists of series of connections between a single interface on one router and multiple destination routers. Are you getting my point? Point to multipoint refers to a type of network topology consists of a series of connections between a single interface on one router and multiple destination routers. All interfaces on all the routers sharing the point to multipoint connections belong to the same network. As with point to point, no DR and BDR are needed. Now we will see the tree calculation, how the shortest path tree calculation happens. As I already told you that within the area, each router calculates the best path to every network in that same area. This calculation is based upon the information collected in the topology database. Once every router collects the topology and it creates a database, after that an algorithm called shortest path first SPF. With the help of this algorithm, it find out the shortest path to each network. Okay. Move to the next slide. Here, OSPF uses a metric referred to as a cost. It uses cost. A cost is associated with every outgoing interface included in SPF tree. The cost of the entire path is the sum of the cost of the outgoing interface along the path. Cisco uses a simple calculation of 10 to the power 8 bandwidth/bandwidth. The bandwidth is the configured bandwidth for each interface. Using this rule, for example, if we have 100 Mbps fast Ethernet interface, would have a default OSPF cost of 1, and 10 Mbps Ethernet interface would have a cost of 10. Let's take one example. With the help of example, we will understand. Here we have one example. There is one interface. If the bandwidth of that interface is set to 64,000, what would a default cost? So we have a equation 10 to the power 8 divided by bandwidth. We have given bandwidth 64,000. If we calculate, the answer will be 1563. So the cost will be 1563. Now, here we need to understand that when connecting links between routers from different vendors, we have to make sure that the cost to match another vendor's router should be same. Both routers should assign the same cost to the links for OSPF to work. The most important thing, if we have Cisco router on one side and Juniper router on another side, and if they have P2P connections, so we have to check the interface cost. What is the cost? So we have to match the cost, otherwise it will not work. It will not work for OSPF. Okay. OSPF, DR and BDR elections. Now we will understand that how DR and BDR elections happens in broadcast multi-access network. We have already learned about two terms. One is neighbor and the second one is adjacency. Neighbors are two or more routers that have interface on a common network. Adjacency is a relationship between two OSPF routers that permit the direct exchange of route updates. This is the difference between neighbor and adjacency. In adjacency, there is a capability of routers. It provides the capability to exchange route informations. Okay, but in neighbors, there is no route exchange happens in neighborship. Okay, so there is a difference. Let's begin with the OSPF, DR and BDR election process. In the election process, you will see two terms. One is DR and the second one is BDR. To accomplish this process, we have Hello protocol. It is very important to understand one more time the use of Hello protocol. Hello protocol or packet are exchanged via IP multicast packet. The IP address is 224.0.0.5 between two routers or within the area. Each segment to elect DR and BDR. Only segments that are broadcast and non-broadcast multi-access network such as Ethernet and frame relay will perform DR and BDR elections. I will show you the diagram also. Here, in this broadcast multi-access, we will perform DR and BDR election will happen. Okay. Point-to-point links like a serial WAN, for example, will not have a DR and BDR elections. On a broadcast or non-broadcast multi-access network, the router with the highest OSPF priority on a particular segment will become the DR for that segment. Now, the point is, in Cisco routers, the default priority is 1. So, there is a tie-up, and who will become the DR and who will become the BDR? The router with the highest router ID will win and become the DR. As we already discussed that the RID is determined by the highest IP address on any interface at the moment of OSPF startup, and this can be overridden with a loopback address. If we have loopback address, then the first priority goes to the loopback address and it will become the RID. If we set a interface priority to 0, after that what will happen? That particular interface of the OSPF router will not participate in the election process of DR and BDR. That is very important. And the state of the interface with priority 0 will become DR other. Move to the next slide. The The election process happens when a broadcast or non-broadcast multi-access network is connected to a router and the link comes up. After that, the process of DR and VDR will happen. Here, neighbors, router that share a common segment become neighbors on that particular segment. These neighbors are elected via Hello protocol, and after that Hello packets are sent periodically. The periodic time is, interval time is 30 seconds. Each interface using IP multicast address. What is the address? 224.0.0.5. Area ID, as we already know that two routers interface have to belong to the same area on a particular segment. So of course those interface with the highest, this is area ID. Those interface have to belong to the same subnet. Area ID means if we have 4 to 5 routers within the same area and all the big network divided into smaller areas, so every area will have the area ID. After that, authentication allows for the configuration of a password for a specific area, although authentication between router is not required. But if we have done the authentication on one router, so the same password should be there on the second router. That means both of them should pass the authentication, peer authentication. We can also say peer authentication. Hello and dead interval timer. It should be same. See, here the most important thing is neighbor. If two router wants to become a neighbor, these below points should be same on the routers. Okay, area ID, after that authentication, after that hello and dead interval time should be same. Okay, OSPF requires these intervals should be exactly same between two neighbors. If any of these intervals are different, the router will not become what? Neighbor. Yes, they will not become a neighbor. And if we want to verify the timers on OSPF router, we can use the command show IP OSPF interface command. Okay. So these points should match at the time of neighborship. So in the election process, adjacency is the next step after the neighboring process. Once the neighboring process is finished, then it moves to the adjacency. Adjacent routers are routers that go beyond the simple hello exchange. Now few different type of OSPF packets will exchange between the neighbor, between two routers, and proceed into the database exchange process. Okay, in order to maintain the amount of information exchange on a particular segment, OSPF elect one router to be DR and one router to be as a backup designated router on each multi-access segment. The BDR is elected as a backup router in case the DR goes down. The idea behind this is router have a central point of contact for information exchange. I will show you what is happening here. This is your broadcast multi-access network. This is R1, R2, R3, and this is R4. So in this scenario, broadcast multi-access network, we need DR and BDR. Why? Because if every router will send information to each other, it will be difficult to troubleshoot and it will difficult to understand which information is coming from which router. So it is better to choose DR and BDR and make the process simple. So every router will exchange the routing information with the DR and BDR only. The DR and BDR then relay the information to everybody else within the same area ID. Got my point? After that, OSPF packet types. Now we have different packet types because as I already told you that when the router, when the neighbor, when once it will find out his neighbor, after that neighborship happened, then adjacency, after adjacent routers, they move towards more bigger process of DR and BDR. In this case, they need more OSPF packets. So OSPF works with 5 different packets. What those are? Hello packet, database description packet, link state request packet, link state update packet, and link state acknowledgement packet. Okay. So first is hello packet. As we already know that discovers neighbors and build adjacencies between them. Database description packet, check for database synchronization between routers. Okay. Third one is link state request packet, request specific link state records from another router. I will tell you in other words about link state request packet. To request a specific LSA that is seen during the DVD exchange process. You got my point? To request a specific LSA that is seen during the DVD exchange process. Fine. And link state update packet to send the entire LSA to the neighbor who request the particular LSA. Okay. That is link state update packet. Send specifically requested link state records. Link state acknowledgement packet to acknowledge the receipt of the link state update packet. It uses acknowledgement packet, link state acknowledgement packet for this kind of packets. Okay. Now the next one is OSPF neighbor states. What are the neighbor states? We have multiple neighbor state. One is down, attempt, int, two-way, start, exchange, loading, and full. Move to the next slide. So the first state is down state. What is down state? I will give you one example. These are two routers, R1 and R2. These links are not configured by network administrator, or one of the link is down, so it shows down state. This is called down state. Okay, one second. let's start with the second point. During the fully adjacent neighbor state, if a router doesn't receive hello packet from a neighbor within the router dead interval time, that is 40 seconds, or if the manually configured neighbor is being removed from the configuration, then the neighbor state changes from full to down. So I will give you one example. Down state example. This is R1, this is R2, connected with serial link, but both links are down. One link is up, one link is down, still the state is down. Okay, the next one is, move to the next slide, attempt state. What does it says? This state is only valid for manually configured neighbors in an NBA network or environment. In attempt state, the router sends unicast hello packet every pole interval to the neighbor from which hello have not been received with the dead interval time. This is the state is valid for neighbor on NBMA networks. If a neighbor is in this state, it means that no information is received from this I missed something. Attempt state, right? If a neighbor is in this state, it means that no information is received from the neighbor, but serious effort is being made by neighbor to connect the router. Serious effort means this router will constantly sends a hello packet upon every hello interval to contact the neighbor. Okay. After that, int state. What does it says? In the int state, I will give you one example. Suppose we have a router. One second. Okay. Int state, this is R1 and this is R2. Hello packets are going from R1 and receiving from R2. In this hello packet, if you see that nobody is seeing information. R1 sends a hello packet. Upon receiving this hello, R2 declares one-way state because R2 doesn't see itself, its router ID in that hello packet. You got my point? Again I am saying this. R1 sends a hello packet. For example, R1 is sending a hello packet. Upon receiving this hello packet, R2 declares a one-way because R2 doesn't see itself its router ID, because R2 is not seeing his router ID in that hello packet. Okay. This state specifies that the router has received a hello packet from its neighbor, but the receiving router's ID was not included in the hello packet. When a router receives a hello packet from a neighbor, it should list the sender's router ID in its hello packet as an acknowledgement that it received a valid hello packet. Okay, when a router receives a hello packet from a neighbor, it should list the sender's router ID in its hello packet as an acknowledgement that it received a valid hello packet. So R2 doesn't see itself its router ID in that hello packet, so that is why it is in int state. After that, the next state is two-way state. Yeah, two-way state. In the two-way states, what is happening? Same example we will take. This is two-way state. What will happen and what changes will come here? Let's see. Two-way state. The changes will come here. R2 is sending hello and dr is R2 seen R1. See here. This is a bidirectional communication has been established between two routers. OSPF neighbor reaches the two-way state when bidirectional communication is established. This is a bidirectional state. Okay, what is happening here? This is the beginning of an OSPF adjacency. Okay, DR and BDR are elected in this state because each router will see its router ID in the hello packet. R2 sends a hello packet that says that R2 has been seen R1's hello. The router ID of R2 is higher, so it has also elected itself as a DR. You got my point? In this state, what is happening? R2 has seen R1 hello. R2 has seen R1 hello and R2 declare that I am the DR. Okay, in the two-way state, the one router will see others hello packet in that neighbors field. In the hello packet there is a neighbor field. It will see the sender's information and receiver's information also. That is why seen R1, R2 seen R1 and DR is R2. It declares that. Here the most important point is on point to multi-point network, a router becomes full with all connected routers. Receiving a database description DBD packet from a neighbor in the int state will also be a cause of a transition of two-way state. Okay. On broadcast media and non-broadcast multi-access, a router becomes full only with the DR and the BDR designated router BDR. It says in two-way state with all other neighbors. You got my point? The next stage is X start state. In this state, what is happening? In this state, it is very useful for initializing of the database synchronization process. Master and slave are elected in this state. The first sequence number for DBD exchange is also decided here in this state. R1 send, see here what is happening in this. This is R1 and this is R2. R1 send the first DBD packet. R1 is sending first DBD packet to R2. R2 also send its first DVD packet. Both are sending DVD packet. Both are sending DVD packets with each other. The router that has the highest router ID becomes the master. Okay. In this example, R2 has the highest router ID, so R2 is the master. It will set a sequence number also at the time of exchanging the DVD packet. Okay. Now the next one is exchange state. So in the exchange state, what will happen? The router describes its entire linked state database through DVD packet. You understand this stage? The router describes its entire linked state database through DVD packets. Each DVD sequence is explicitly acknowledged. Only one outstanding DVD packet is allowed at a time. Link state request packets are also sent in this state only to request new instances of LSA. Example, I will explain it. For example, if we have two routers, let's take one example. Two routers, R1 and R2. They are exchanging database. They are exchanging DVD packets. Okay. The last arrow shows that the M bit is set to 0. One second. So, this is okay. Here R1 and R2. R1 is sending DVD packet with the sequence number Y slave. R2 is sending back with sequence number Y plus 1 and slave. They are exchanging, right? And then again DVD is sending sequence number Y plus 1 master slave, and this is going on like that. So the last arrow shows that the M bit is set to 0. This means that the master has no more data to send. At this stage, R1, the slave will send whatever database is left, and R1 will also set the M bit to 0. This is the indication that both routers have exchanged the complete database. Fine. See. So each DBD packet has a sequence number which can be incremented only by master, which is explicitly acknowledged by slave. Okay, and the last stage is loading, sorry, second last. This is the second last state, that is loading. After that full will come. One second. Okay, loading state. So in the loading state, link state request packet are sent to request the more recent instances of an LSA that has not been sent or received during the exchange process. In the loading state, link state request packet will go. R1 is in the loading state and is sending LS, link state request packets, to receive a more recent instances of LSA. Okay. During the adjacency, if a router receives an outdated or missing LSA, it requests that LSA by sending a link state request packet. Simple as that. All link state update packets are acknowledged. Okay. And the last state is full state. In the full state, the complete information has been exchanged between OSPF neighbors, and the routers are become fully adjacent with each other. All the router and network LSA are exchanged and the router's database are fully synchronized. Full is the normal state for OSPF router. This is the normal state. This is the normal state. If a router is stuck in another state, it is an indication that there are problems in the forming adjacencies. The only exception to this is to two-way state, which is normal in a broadcast network. In the broadcast domain, in the broadcast network, this is common, which is normal in that. Routers achieve the full state with their DR and BDR, NBMA broadcast media. Online status. Full state with every neighbor in the remaining media, such as point to point and point to multi-point. Okay. So you will see in the point to point and point to multi-point, you will see the full state with every neighbor in the remaining media, such as point to point and point to multi-point. But in the routers, you will see DR, their DR and BDR in NBMA broadcast media full state. There are two kinds of different states. Okay. Now come to the next slide. The DR and BDR that achieve full state with every router on the segment will display full or DR other. When you enter the show IP OSPF neighbor command on either a DR or BDR, they will show you full/DR other. This simply means that the neighbor is not a DR or BDR, but since the router on which the command was entered is either a DR or BDR, this shows the neighbor as full DR and DR other. Full and DR other. Every router will show you full slash dr other. When you enter the show IP OSPF neighbor command on either a dr or bdr, this simply means that the neighbor is not a dr or bdr, but since the router on which the command was entered is either a dr or bdr. Okay, so this shows the neighbor as full dr other. Now the next slide. In this slide, you can see this. You can see the enterprise network, single autonomous system before implementation of the OSPF. If we are not implementing OSPF, then this is the enterprise network, which is very complex, very complex, and very difficult to maintain for a network administrator. Fine. One second. Let's take a 5 minutes break. We will come back. Yeah, 5 minutes break. Okay, shall we start? Okay. So here is one complex network diagram. You can see that on your screen. Now think about overloaded routing updates traffic that each will receive from multiple routers. It will increase the CPU utilization on each router. It may happens to network congestion and packet loss issues, a lot of manpower required to control network issues like latency also, and so many network issues will come on everyday basis. So what is the solution? Solution is OSPF. OSPF provides a solution. In a single autonomous system, we can divide into smaller groups called areas, as we already seen that, right? This reduces the number of link state advertisement LSA and other OSPF overhead traffic sent to the networks, and it reduces the size of the topology database also. That is also a good point. The routing devices that participate in OSPF routing perform one or more functions based on their location in the network. To understand areas, we must first understand the type of OSPF routers and LSA types. First, we will see this. Okay, so types of routers in OSPF. You can see on your right hand side diagram of OSPF, a network diagram. It gives you a picture, a clear picture which router belongs to which network, which area 0. Suppose this is area 0 and this is area 1. This is area 1 and this is area 0. So we have backbone router here. At least one interface in area 0. Those kind of routers are called backbone router. Internal routers, all of the interfaces belongs to the one single area. Those are internal routers. Okay. Area border router ABR, OSPF router that has one or more interfaces in the backbone area and one or more interfaces in non-backbone area. Those are ABR. Here you can see that this router, this is ABR. One interface is in one area and the other interfaces are belong to different area. So this is ABR. This type of router are called ABR. Autonomous system border router. This is your ASBR because it connects with the different protocol, routing protocol or different organization, different AS. Okay, these are ASBR. LSA types. So we have different LSA types. In the picture you can see that we have LSA type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the different LSA type. We will see one by one. So we have type 1 LSA. The type 1 LSA are router LSA. What is the function and who generate this kind of LSA and the description we will see in this slide. It is generated by each internal router, the type 1 router. It is generated by each internal router within an area per area link Description: flooded within a single area only. LSA type 2, network LSA, generated by DR, flooded within the single area only. Type 3, network summary LSA, generated by ABR, describe inter-area routes. It also describes the destination outside an area but within the OSPF domain. The summary for one area is flooded into the other area, vice versa. It is done by ABR. Type 4, ASBR summary LSA. ASBR summary LSA type 4. It is generated by ABR. Describe the information about ASBR. In a single area, there will be no summary type 4 LSA. You understand my point? In a single area, there will be no summary type 4 LSA. In this single area, describe the path to the ASBR. Fine. Type 5 LSA, AS external, generated by ASBR. Describe the redistributed routes that have been injected into the OSPF domain. See this diagram one more time. We are talking about type 5. Type 5, AS external, LSA type 5, generated by ASBR. Describe the redistributed routes that have been injected into the OSPF domain from an external AS by the ASBR. So all the routes are coming from out of the AS inside this AS. So it is done by LSA type 5 and the responsible router is ASBR. Okay. It is generated by ASBR. Type 7, NSSA external LSA, generated by ASBR within a not so stubby area. NSSA area. Describe external routes sent from ASBR to ABR and converted into a type 5 by the ABR, which then flood into its areas. You are getting my point? Describe external routes sent from ASBR to ABR. See, type 7. Describe external routes sent from ASBR to ABR and converted into a type 5 by the ABR, which flood into its areas. So that is type 7 LSA. It is generated by ASBR within a not so stubby area. Now area types: backbone area, standard area, stub area, totally stub area, and not so stubby area. First of all, we will see backbone area. What is backbone area? The backbone area is the core of the OSPF network. Furthermore, OSPF states that every area must be connected to the backbone area. Area 0. Standard area. This is an area that is not stub based. This includes the backbone area. This is standard area. Totally, after that, stub area. With stub areas, external routers are not propagated into the stub area by the ABR but replaced with a default route instead. This reduces the OSPF topology along with LSA overhead. So these kind of areas are called stub areas. external routes are not propagated inside the stub area, that is stub area. Totally stub area, this area is same as stub area with the addition that they do not receive type 3 LSA. See, type 3 LSA is generated by ABR, and totally stub area they do not receive type 3 LSA. Describe inter-area routes. They will not get inter-area routes. Okay, the ABR injects a default route. ABR, here the ABR injects a default route. Not so stubby area, the last one, also known as NSSA, is an area similar to a stub area but with an additional of an ASBR. Okay, so we have completed area types also. Standard OSPF area. First of all, we have the standard area. Standard areas are based on the following LSA. What is standard area? Type 1 and type 2 LSA are flooded between routers sharing a common area. Okay, type 1 and type 2 LSA are flooded between routers sharing a common area. Type 1 LSA are router LSA and type 2 LSA are network LSA generated by DR. And router LSA, type 1 LSA, each internal router within an area per link generated by internal routers, every internal routers. Next, type 3 LSA are sent by the ABR to advertise inter-area routes. Type 3 LSA generated by ABR describe inter-area routes. Type 3 LSA here generated by ABR, and it is forwarding inter routes, advertise inter-area routes. Okay, now the next one is type 4 LSA are sent by the ABR advertising the path back to ASBR, generated by the ABR, advertising the path back to ASBR. Type 4 LSA. See, this is type 4 LSA generated by ABR, describe the redistributed routes that have been injected into the, type 4 LSA describe the path to the ASBR, towards the ASBR. After that, type 5 LSA are sent by the ASBR and it redistribute routes that have been injected into the OSPF domain from an external AS by the ASBR. So what it's saying, type 5 LSA are sent by ASBR to advertise external routes. Type 5. Okay, stub area. Stub areas allows you to control the advertisement of external routes into an area. It will not advertise outside LSA inside the stub area. In stub area, outside LSAs will not enter. Allow you to control the advertisement of external routes into an area. That particular area is called stub area. By designated an area border router interface to the area as a stub interface, you suppress external routes advertisement through the ABR. In turn, it reduces CPU memory utilization used by the nodes to maintain the topology database. With stub area, the type 5 LSA is not sent by the ABR. Type 5 LSAs are external LSA generated by ASBR. Describe the redistributed routes that have been injected into the OSPF, LSA, and it is the responsibility of ASBR, type 5 LSA. So the type 5 LSA is not sent by the ABR, Instead, the type 3 LSA includes the default route which it sent out to the stub area nodes. Okay. Now totally stub OSPF areas. In the totally stubby area are similar to stub area in the fact that they do not receive type 4 and 5 LSA from their ABRs. This is ABR, and they will not receive type 4 and type 5 LSA from their ABR. However, with totally stubby areas, the type 3 inter-area advertisement is also removed. A single default route is injected by the ABR. See, a single default route is injected by the ABR. This is ABR. Okay, this is ABR, and single default route is injected by the ABR. So this is totally stubby OSPF area. Not so stubby OSPF areas. One second. In NSSA, not so stubby area is simply a stub based area that includes an ASBR. That includes what? That includes an ASBR. It will include ASBR, not so stubby area 1. Okay. Therefore, type 3 inter-area. What is type 3 network? Type 3 is network summary LSA generated by ABR. Describe inter-area routes. Okay. Therefore, type 3 LSA will still be sent by the ABR. See, type 3 LSA is still sent by the ABR. This is ABR. This one is ABR. Okay. However, as the rule of stub area is that the LSA type 5 is generated by ASBR. Okay. However, as the rule of stub areas is that the LSA type 5 is not sent. The ASBR sends an LSA type 7. The ASBR sends an LSA type 7 announcing its external routes to the ABR This LSA type 7 is then converted into a type 5 by AVR. See, this is ASBR, R3 is ASBR, okay. The stub areas is that the LSA type 5 is not sent. The ASBR, in this ASBR R3 will announce type 7 LSA. This is type 7 LSA. This is type 7 LSA is coming from R3 sent by ASBR, okay, is announcing its external routes to the ABR. It is going here type 7 LSA, and it is converted into and then converted into a type 5 by the ABR. So R2 is converting into type 5 LSA. Got my point? ASBR is sending in a way of type 7 announcing, LSA type 7 announcing its external routes to the ABR. In this not so stubby areas, type 5 LSA is not sent. Okay, so instead of that, type 5 LSA is not sending. Okay, so what is happening? ASBR sends an LSA type 7 announcing its external routes, announcing its external route in the form of type 7, and then converted. Type 7 is converted by ABR. This is ABR. Okay, it is converted into type 5 LSA, then converted into type 5 by the ABR. Okay. Done. Now OSPF and loopback interface. The reason to configure a loopback interface on a router is because if you don't, the highest IP address on a router will become the router's ID. The router ID is used to advertise the routers as well as elect the DR and BDR. That is a very important point. With the help of RID, the RID is used to advertise the routers as well as elect the DR and BDR. That is why we choose loopback address. And the second thing is that loopback interface are logical interface, which are virtual software only interfaces. They are not real router interface. So there will be no chance that these loopback interfaces will become down or dead. Using loopback interface with your OSPF configuration ensures that an interface is always active or up for OSPF process. So your OSPF process will never become down. They can be used for diagnostic purpose also, as well as OSPF configurations also. Okay, simple, right? So move to the next slide. Now we will see the configuration of OSPF. We have one single area, area 0, and the process ID what we are taking here 1. Okay. The following section describe how to configure single area OSPF. These two elements are the basic elements of OSPF configuration. One is enabling OSPF and the configuring OSPF area. These two are very important. Let's see. See, all are P2P. Okay. This is P2P. This is P2P, point to point network type, area type, point to point, right? Okay. So if we do these configurations on R1, R2, R3 and R4 that I have given here, okay. If you do these configuration, so the first step is go to the global configuration mode and type router OSPF1. 1 is the process ID. For the convenience, we have taken only one process ID. The same process ID we are using on all routers within the same area. If the process ID is different, it doesn't matter, it will not give you any different effect. You can change the process ID, but for the convenience we have chosen only the same process ID, and the process ID is 1 here. Okay, so this is the command. The second command is network. After that, network ID, wildcard mask and area 0. It has to be advertised from R1 similar to R2, R3 and R4. Okay, when making these configuration, make sure that you calculate all the wildcard mask so that understand the concept clearly. Okay, so if we have the network address 192.168.1.0, the broadcast address is 255, 255, 255 and 255. This is the broadcast address. This is not a broadcast address. Okay, this is not a default broadcast address. This is a calculation for wildcard mask. What we are going to do, we are subtracting the default, the given subnet mask. See, the given subnet mask is /30, right? So the /30 means /30 means how much? See, /30 means 8 dot, means these are octet, second octet, third octet, and in the fourth octet we have 6. What is the value of 6? See, bit and mask 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 128 224 240 248 252 254 and 255, right? So bit 6 is 254, right? I think it is not correct here. One second. Sorry, I missed here something. One second. Bit 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 128 192 224 240 248 254 248, 252, 254 and 255. So bit 6, bit 6 means 252. Why it is showing 224 here? Oh, this is slash 27. We have given the slash 27, we have taken. Okay, in this example it is slash 27, so that means slash 27 means 24 plus 3, 24 plus 3, right? So 3 means 240, correct. 3 bits are on, so it means 224. 128, 192, 224. So this will come, right? 3 bits are on, right? 3 bits are on. Okay. 224. So that is why 224, and if you minus this, so it will come 31. So this is your inverse mask or wildcard mask. Okay. Done? After making the configuration on all the routers, you should be able to see that output that's shown below. You can see this output. From full to down. After that you will see full to down, neighbor down, interface down or detach. After that you will see adjacent. From loading to full, loading done, and this is the process. It will happen in fractions of seconds, and you will see OSPF states here one by one. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed my presentation, and if you want to give any suggestions, any comments, you can please write down in the comment box. We will work on that. Thank you so much. And our next slides will come on BGP, MPLS and EIGRP. Please write to us. Please mention on comments what are the slides or what are the presentations, what are the topics you want from our side. Definitely we will cover those topics. Thank you so much.